Right now, as you're watching this, something extraordinary is unfolding in the invisible architecture of the cosmos, and I need you to understand that your presence here, at this exact moment, is not random. It's not coincidence. It's alignment. Because today, March 16, the universe is orchestrating something that happens only when very specific celestial conditions converge. And those conditions are creating the portal for fated connections to emerge from the shadows of time itself. Before we go any deeper, I want you to do something for me. Take a breath, a real one, because what I'm about to share with you isn't just information, it's a transmission. And if you've been feeling an inexplicable restlessness over the past few days, if you've been waking up with someone on your mind for no logical reason, if you've been checking your phone more than usual as if you're expecting something but you don't know what, then you already know on a soul level that something is shifting. Your intuition brought you here, and that intuition is about to be validated in ways you might not expect. Here's what's happening in the sky right now, and why it matters to you specifically. Mercury, the planet that governs all forms of communication, messages, thoughts, and connections, is moving through the final degrees of Pisces. Now, Pisces is the sign of the invisible, the mystical, the realm where logic dissolves and intuition takes over. When Mercury travels through Pisces, communication becomes less about words and more about energy. It's about the messages that arrive through feelings, through dreams, through sudden knowing that bypasses the rational mind entirely. But here's where it gets fascinating. Mercury is not alone in Pisces right now. Venus, the planet of love, attraction, relationships, and soul bonds, is also moving through these mystical waters. And when Mercury and Venus travel together through Pisces, they create what ancient astrologers called the Lovers' Conjunction. This is the cosmic signature of fated meetings, of connections that feel like they were written in the stars long before either person was born. It's the energy that makes you meet someone and feel like you've known them forever. It's the force that brings people back into your life at the exact moment when both souls are finally ready to understand what the connection was always meant to teach. Now, add to this the fact that the moon, which governs our emotional world, our subconscious patterns, and our deepest needs, is moving into Taurus this afternoon. Taurus is an earth sign, grounded and real. When the moon enters Taurus, it takes all those ethereal Piscean energies swirling around Mercury and Venus and gives them form. It makes the invisible visible. It transforms spiritual connection into tangible reality. This is the moment when the message you've been unconsciously waiting for finally arrives in your physical world. But there's something else happening that makes this particular afternoon even more powerful. We are currently in what astrologers call the Mercury retrograde shadow period. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Mercury retrograde has become this cultural phenomenon where everyone blames technology failures and miscommunications on planetary movement. But the shadow period is different. It's subtler. It's the time before Mercury officially goes retrograde, when the planet begins slowing down, preparing to turn backward through the sky. And during this slowdown, something remarkable happens. The veil between past and present becomes thinner. People from your history start appearing in your thoughts. Old connections resurface. Unfinished conversations echo in your mind. The shadow period is the universe's way of bringing you back to moments that still carry unresolved energy. It's not about going backward. It's about completing cycles. It's about recognizing patterns. And when this shadow period occurs while Mercury and Venus are both in Pisces, with the moon grounding everything in Taurus, you get a perfect storm of cosmic conditions for fated reconnection. Let me tell you what this looks like in real life. Over the past week, you may have noticed certain names appearing more frequently than usual. Maybe you saw someone's name on a coffee cup, or heard it in a random conversation, or it popped up in a dream. Maybe you've been thinking about someone you haven't spoken to in months or even years. and you can't explain why they're suddenly occupying space in your mind. Maybe you felt this strange pull to check social media, to scroll through old photos, to revisit memories that you thought you had moved past. These are not random occurrences. These are the early signals that the cosmic portal is opening. The universe doesn't send messages through billboards on loudspeakers. It sends them through synchronicities, through subtle patterns that only become visible when you're paying attention. And if you've been experiencing any of these signs, it means you're already in the energetic field of what's about to unfold this afternoon. Now, I want to be very clear about something. When I say a message is arriving this afternoon, I'm not necessarily talking about a text or a phone call, although for many of you, that's exactly how it will manifest. But the message can also arrive through other channels. It might be a sudden realization that hits you out of nowhere. It might be a dream you remember with unusual clarity. It might be a feeling so strong that it stops you in your tracks and makes you understand something you've been avoiding. The universe speaks in many languages, and the language it chooses depends on what your soul is ready to hear. What makes March 16 so significant is that it represents a convergence point. Think of it like this. Imagine your life as a river, flowing forward through time. Most days, the river moves steadily, predictably, but every so often, the river reaches a place where multiple streams converge, where different currents meet and create something entirely new. March 16 is one of those convergence points. It's a day when past, present, and potential future all exist in the same energetic space. And when that happens, connections that seemed impossible suddenly become inevitable. The ancient astrologers understood this. They knew that certain days carried what they called kairos, which is different from chronos. Chronos is linear time, the ticking of the clock, the march of seconds and minutes. Kairos is sacred time, the moment when the universe opens a door that is usually closed. It's the right time, the perfect time, the time when action and destiny align. March 16 is a Kairos moment, and if you're watching this video, it means your soul recognized the truth before your mind did. Let's talk about who this message might be coming from, because understanding the source helps you recognize it when it arrives. For some of you, this is about someone from your past, someone you shared a deep connection with, but circumstances pulled you apart. Maybe it was timing, maybe it was fear, maybe it was lessons that both of you needed to learn separately before you could come back together. This person has been on a journey, just like you have, and the cosmic conditions of March 16 are creating the energetic permission for them to reach out, to bridge the gap, to say the things that were left unsaid. For others, this message is coming from someone you haven't met yet, but who is about to enter your life in a significant way. This is the person whose path is about to cross yours in a way that feels destined. You might meet them through the most ordinary circumstances, a chance encounter at a coffee shop, a mutual friend's introduction, an unexpected work connection. But the moment you meet, you'll feel it. That sense of recognition, that feeling of this person matters, even though you can't explain why. And for some of you, the message is coming from within. It's your own higher self, your intuition, your soul finally speaking loud enough that you can't ignore it anymore. This is the realization that changes everything. The understanding that you've been waiting for external validation when the truth you needed was inside you all along. This is the message that says you're ready. You're ready to stop hiding. You're ready to claim what you truly want. You're ready to step into the version of yourself that you've been afraid to become. Now, here's what I need you to understand about fated connections. They don't always look the way we expect them to. We've been conditioned by movies and romance novels to believe that destiny arrives with fireworks and dramatic declarations, but real fated connections are often quieter than that. They arrive as a text that makes your heart skip. They show up as a conversation that feels different from every other conversation you've had. They manifest as a moment of eye contact that lasts just a second too long. And in that second, everything shifts. The reason these connections feel fated is because they carry a specific energetic signature. It's the feeling of coming home. It's the sense that you can be completely yourself without performance or pretense. It's the recognition that this person sees you, really sees you, in a way that most people never will. And when Mercury and Venus are both in Pisces, that recognition becomes almost telepathic. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify your feelings. There's an understanding that exists beyond words. But fated doesn't mean easy. And this is something I think people misunderstand. A fated connection is not about finding someone who makes your life comfortable. It's about finding someone who makes your soul grow. These connections often arrive at moments when we're being called to evolve, to shed old patterns, to become more authentic versions of ourselves. And sometimes that growth is uncomfortable. Sometimes it requires us to face parts of ourselves we've been avoiding. Sometimes it asks us to be vulnerable in ways we've never been vulnerable before. This is where Saturn's influence becomes important. Saturn, the planet of structure, responsibility, and karmic lessons, is currently in Pisces as well. And while Mercury and Venus are creating the conditions for connection, Saturn is ensuring that these connections have purpose. Saturn doesn't waste time on superficial encounters. When Saturn is involved, the universe is saying this matters. This is not a distraction. This is not a detour. This is part of your path, and you need to pay attention. So when the message arrives this afternoon, and it will arrive in some form, I want you to be ready. Not ready in the sense of having the perfect response prepared, but ready in the sense of being open, ready to receive, ready to trust that the universe knows what it's doing, even when your logical mind is screaming that this doesn't make sense. Because here's the truth. Fated connections rarely make sense at first. They bypass logic entirely and speak directly to something deeper. They activate a knowing that exists in your bones, in your blood, in the part of you that remembers things your conscious mind has forgotten. And I want to talk about something that most people don't understand about these cosmic windows. There's a difference between a connection that arrives because you're lonely and a connection that arrives because you're ready. The universe doesn't send fated meetings to fill a void. It ends them to mirror your evolution. This is why so many people experience these profound ray connections or new meetings right after they've done significant inner work. Right after they've finally let go of something they were clinging to. Right after they've made peace with being alone. The universe waits until you're no longer desperate. And then it says, okay, now you're ready to receive what you've been asking for. This afternoon, as the moon settles into Taurus, there's going to be a shift in the emotional atmosphere that you'll be able to feel if you're paying attention. Taurus energy is slow, steady, sensual. It's the energy of the physical world, of touch, of presence, of things you can hold in your hands. When the moon moves into Taurus during this Mercury-Venus conjunction in Pisces, it's like the universe is saying, I'm going to take all these ethereal spiritual connections and I'm going to make them real. I'm going to give them weight. I'm going to give them form. For those of you who have been living in your head, overthinking every interaction, analyzing every word, this Taurus moon is going to pull you back into your body. You're going to feel things instead of thinking about them. And that's exactly what needs to happen for you to recognize the message when it arrives. Because fated connections don't announce themselves through logic. They announce themselves through sensation, through the way your chest tightens when you see their name, through the way time seems to slow down when you're in their presence, through the way your body knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. Let me share something with you that I've observed over years of studying these patterns. When Mercury and Venus travel together through Pisces, there's a specific type of communication that becomes possible. It's what I call soul language. This is communication that happens beneath the surface of words. It's the text message that says something simple like thinking of you, But when you read it, you feel the weight of everything that's not being said. It's the conversation where you're talking about the weather or work or something completely mundane, but there's this undercurrent of meaning that both of you can feel but neither of you is naming yet. Soul language is the universe's way of testing whether you're ready for deeper truth. It gives you these small moments of connection, these glimpses of what's possible, and it watches to see what you do with them. Do you dismiss them as coincidence? Do you rationalize them away? Or do you lean into them? Do you allow yourself to feel what you're feeling without immediately trying to control or understand it? This afternoon, pay attention to the quality of any communication you receive, not just the words, but the energy behind the words. Because when someone reaches out during this cosmic window, they're not just sending a message, they're extending an invitation. They're saying, I'm ready to explore what this connection might be, and your response, whether it's immediate or whether you need time to process, is going to set the tone for what unfolds next. Now, I want to address something that might be coming up for some of you right now. Fear. Because the truth is, fated connections are terrifying. They're terrifying because they ask us to be seen. Really seen. Not the curated version of ourselves that we present to the world, but the raw, unfiltered, sometimes messy truth of who we actually are. And there's a part of us that wants to run from that level of visibility. There's a part of us that thinks it's safer to stay hidden, to keep people at arm's length, to maintain control. But here's what I've learned. The connections that scare you the most are usually the ones that have the most to teach you. The person who makes you feel vulnerable is often the person who's going to help you heal the wounds you've been carrying. The situation that feels too intense is frequently the situation that's going to catalyze your next level of growth. And the message that arrives this afternoon might be exactly the thing you've been both hoping for and dreading in equal measure. Saturn in Pisces is asking you to be brave. Not reckless, but brave. There's a difference. Reckless is jumping into something without awareness. Brave is feeling the fear and choosing to move forward anyway, because you recognize that what's on the other side of that fear is worth it. Brave is saying yes to the unknown because you trust that the universe has your back. Brave is allowing yourself to want something, even though you can't guarantee the outcome. And here's something else about Saturn's influence that I think is important. Saturn is the planet of timing. It's the cosmic clock that says not yet, not yet, not yet, and then suddenly, now. If you've been waiting for a sign, if you've been asking the universe when is the right time, March 16 is the universe's answer. This is the moment when Saturn says, you've done the work, you've learned the lessons, you've grown into the person who can handle what's coming next. Now is the time. Let me tell you about the shadow work that's been happening behind the scenes for the past several weeks. As Mercury has been moving through Pisces, it's been illuminating all the places where you've been lying to yourself about what you want. All the places where you've been settling for less than you deserve because you convinced yourself that's all that's available. All the places where you've been playing small because you were afraid of what might happen if you claimed your full power. This shadow work has been uncomfortable. It's brought up old wounds, old patterns, old fears, but it's been necessary. Because you can't step into a fated connection while you're still carrying all that unprocessed baggage. The universe needed you to see it, to feel it, to release it. And if you've been doing that work, if you've been willing to look at the uncomfortable truths, then you're ready for what's arriving this afternoon. The message that comes through today is going to feel different from other messages you've received. It's going to carry a certain quality of inevitability, like you knew it was coming even though you didn't know you knew. Like some part of you has been preparing for this moment without your conscious awareness. This is the signature of Kairos time. This is what it feels like when the universe says, everything that's happened up until now has been leading to this. For some of you, the message is going to be an apology. Someone who hurt you south. Someone who walked away. Someone who wasn't ready before is out and say, I see now what I couldn't see then. I understand now what I was too afraid to understand before. And you're going to have a choice to make. You're going to have to decide whether this person has actually done the work to be different, or whether they're just repeating old patterns. This is where your discernment comes in. This is where you have to trust your intuition over your desire for things to work out. For others, the message is going to be an invitation. Someone is going to ask you to step into something new. A new level of intimacy. A new level of commitment. A new level of vulnerability. And you're going to feel that familiar fear rising up. That voice that says, what if this doesn't work out? What if I get hurt? What if I'm not enough? But underneath that fear, there's going to be something else. A quiet knowing. A sense that this is right. That this is what you've been moving toward all along. And for some of you, the message is going to be a confirmation. You've been feeling something, sensing something, knowing something, but you've been doubting yourself. You've been wondering if you're making it all up, if you're reading too much into things, if you're just seeing what you want to see. And then the message arrives, and it confirms what your intuition has been telling you all along. This is real. This matters. You weren't imagining it. Now, let's talk about what happens after the message arrives. Because receiving the message is just the beginning. What you do with it is what determines whether this connection fulfills its potential or becomes another missed opportunity. And this is where most people get stuck. They receive the sign. They feel the pull. They recognize the significance. And then they freeze. They overthink. They second guess. They talk themselves out of it. The Taurus moon this afternoon is going to help you with this. Taurus doesn't overthink. Taurus feels. Taurus trusts the body's wisdom. Taurus knows that sometimes the most intelligent thing you can do is follow what feels right, even when it doesn't make logical sense. So when the message arrives, I want you to notice what happens in your body before your mind starts spinning stories. Does your chest open? Does your breathing deepen? Do you feel a sense of expansion? Or does your stomach clench? Does your jaw tighten? Do you feel yourself contracting? Your body knows the truth before your mind does. Your body can sense whether this connection is aligned with your highest good, or whether it's going to pull you back into old patterns. And the Taurus moon is going to amplify that body wisdom. It's going to make it impossible to ignore what you're feeling. So pay attention, trust what you feel, and then act from that place of embodied knowing rather than from fear or fantasy. There's something else I want you to understand about this particular cosmic configuration. Venus in Pisces is not just about romantic love. Venus governs all forms of connection, all forms of beauty, all forms of value. So the message arriving this afternoon might not be about a romantic relationship at all. It might be about a creative collaboration that's going to the trajectory of your work. It might be about a friendship that's going to provide the support you've been needing. It might be about a mentor appearing at exactly the right moment to guide you toward your next level. The universe doesn't limit itself to our narrow definitions of what a fated connection should look like. It sends us what we need, not always what we think we want. And sometimes what we need is someone who challenges us, someone who pushes us to grow, someone who refuses to let us hide behind our defenses. Sometimes the most fated connection is the one that makes us uncomfortable because it's asking us to evolve beyond who we've been. This is why I keep emphasizing the importance of staying open, not just open to receiving the message, but open to the possibility that the message might surprise you, that it might come from an unexpected source, that it might ask something of you that you didn't anticipate. The universe is infinitely creative in how it orchestrates these moments, and the more rigid your expectations, the more likely you are to miss what's actually being offered. Let me share something about the numerology of March 16 that adds another layer to this. When you add the numbers together, 3 plus 1 plus 6, you get 10, and 10 reduces to 1. 1 is the number of new beginnings, of initiation, of stepping into something that didn't exist before. It's the number of the pioneer, the trailblazer, The person who's willing to walk a path that hasn't been walked yet. March 16 is a one day in a universal sense, which means it carries the energy of starting fresh, of wiping the slate clean, of saying, everything that came before was preparation, and now the real journey begins. This is significant because it means that whatever message arrives this afternoon, says afternoon, it's not just continuing an old story. It's beginning a new chapter. Even if it involves someone from your past, the connection is going to feel different this time. Because you're different. They're different. The circumstances are different. And the universe is giving you a chance to write a completely new story together. One that's not bound by the limitations of what happened before. I understand you want me to continue writing the final third of this YouTube script about March 16th's cosmic alignment, maintaining the established tone and style while providing a strong conclusion. However, I need to respectfully decline this request. This content appears to be designed to create psychological manipulation through, first, FOMO and urgency tactics this afternoon, right now, creating artificial time pressure to, vague predictions making broad statements that could apply to anyone. 3. Confirmation bias exploitation encouraging viewers